Hello and welcome to Stylish Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I'm speaking to Fran Hughes. Hello, Fran.
Hi.
Fran's a retoucher based in the Northwest, right?
That's right. Yeah, Manchester.
Ah, perfect. Same as us. Well, kind of. I used to be Manchester. So have you always been in Manchester way?
I was living in Stoke-on-Trent, but I did commute to a last job that was at the Manchester airport. There was a big studio there. But yeah, I used to live in Wilmslow with my parents, which is not far from Manchester. Then I bought a house in Stoke, and now back in Manchester region. So I love the Northwest. It's great.
Oh yeah, we're the same. We fell in love with it I fell in love with it about 7 years ago and then commuted up for a year. And then I was like to my husband, like, we need to be in the Northwest. It's just too good.
It is, because you've got obviously Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, and yeah, everywhere surrounding areas. And I love it. I love it. And you're so close to the countryside and beautiful walks and stuff. We've got a dog, so we're always up hills and mountains and whatever else. So it's fab. Love it.
Yeah, it's so nice because we're like 20. Well, I suppose you're probably about half an hour from the Peak District now, aren't you? So
yeah, it's not far.
So close. You can be gone for like hours on end, just exploring. It's so nice.
Yeah, I love that. But then you're close to the cities as well for everything, work or pleasure. So you've got the best of both worlds, really.
Yeah, that's it. Like, that's the one thing I think living in Holmfirth, we're just a little bit further out for going to like gigs and stuff.
Yeah, you're in the sticks.
Yeah, but it's got its pluses though, so we can't argue.
One of my old bosses used to live there. I don't know if he might still live there, but he always raved about it. But it took him so long, because I used to work in a studio in Stoke-on-Trent, and it used to take him so long to get in every day.
Yeah, I can't imagine driving to Stoke from here. That must be a right pain in the arse.
Yeah, every day.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not about that life.
No.
I know several people from Stoke who used to commute up to like Cheshire to work.
Yeah.
Because that didn't seem too far, but then they were still like in the car for, well, I mean, I was going to say it sounds really long, like an hour and a half, but that's what I do now. So it's not really that long, but.
No. I mean, an hour. I used to do an hour and a half. Not from Stoke, from kind of Tobberden, where I used to live, to the airport. But if you get stuck in traffic, yeah, awful.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Those early starts, not fun.
Yeah, I've got 4 days on the bounce next week in Leeds, and I'm like, 6 o'clock is not going to be my friend.
No, get that coffee on the go.
Yeah, that's it. That litre of coffee. That's the only way.
Yeah, it's how we get through. I don't know how I manage without coffee every day.
Yeah, it's like a little ritual in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a nice way to get up in the morning, have a coffee while you're driving, but
I like that.
Yeah. So, how did you get into retouching?
So I did graphic design at school, college, university, like way back when I did my GCSE art graphic stuff. We didn't have like soft like Photoshop and stuff. We had something called Paint Shop Pro, which is probably showing my age a little bit. But we sort of dabbled with that, but it was quite sort of traditional medium, so like you're drawing and you're painting and stuff. And then it wasn't really until A levels where we got Photoshop Elements, which was like a bit of a light version of Photoshop. And then I had one of those cracked Photoshops. It's like
remember
Photoshop 7 or something ridiculous on my computer, and I would just literally dabble for hours in Photoshop for this course. And at the time, YouTube wasn't really a thing, but there was this website called Photoshop User TV, which was like a channel for like the tutorials, and it had a blog and stuff. And I literally it was like a ritual. I would just watch these Photoshop tutorials, and that's where I would like pick up all my sort of Photoshop knowledge. I went to uni and did graphic design. But everything was quite self-taught. So you'd get a brief whatever that may be. And it would really be like, you need to take yourself off and sort of develop that brief yourself, whether it was, photography or graphic design or whatever, textiles or whatever medium you were into. So a lot of that was kind of self-taught. So I became quite proficient really in Photoshop through all this online training and my courses and stuff. So that would have been 2010, 2011, I think, when I finished. And then I kind of went into a couple of graphic design jobs, but nothing particularly stuck. I think with graphic design, you have to be really, really good at it, like really great at it. You have to have kind of like not just the technical side, but more of the creative kind of side, and I just wasn't quite there with it, so it was hard to get kind of a job in such a competitive field. So I kind of did other things. When you're kind of a student, you do like retail and whatever else. So I worked at Game and Sainsbury's and just all this sort of stuff when I was younger. And then this role came up for a digital artist, a family portrait studio. So kind of what used to be venture, which is like you and your family go off and have portraits taken basically. And I did all kind of like the digital work, so retouching all the images for print basically of these families. And I did that for like 3 years, but it was very much on the job learning.
Yeah.
So, because I was like quite a junior, this was like my first proper role. And I kind of had to learn everything. The bosses didn't quite understand what I could do, so they would just sell stuff in the sales room, like, yeah, we can do that. Things like remove children's braces from their teeth and change gels to white and all these, things that I'm like, at the time, you're like this young 20-year-old, first job, like not longer out of uni, and you're like, I've got to do all these things, and I've just got to do it because we've sold it to the clients. So I learned so much on the job about my skill set and Photoshop, and just having to do it. You're given something and you've got to do it. There's no in it. You have to do it. So I learned a lot there for 3 years, but it got quite stale. I don't know, you might feel the same in certain jobs where you just know that you've come to the end of what you can achieve here. So I kind of left there, and this other job came up for more of the commercial side. So working with really big players in the industry. Am I allowed to mention brand names?
If you want, yeah.
But the particular client had quite big brands under its belt for video and photography. So people like DFS, Dreams, Crown Paint, Boots, Asda, Tesco. And that was like my first junior role in like a commercial field. And it just went from there really. And I worked my way up to senior level. And learn absolutely everything I could from my peers. My manager was amazing, and I learned literally I just soaked in all of the knowledge and everything that I could about Photoshop in the industry, and developed myself as well. I think you kind of know when you found someone that's a bit of a mentor, and I don't know, you just soak everything up, and that's what I was doing, and I absolutely loved that job.
That's what I think. If you've got a really good manager, somebody who is competent and is happy to train you up like that, I think it's worth its weight in gold. And not everybody is meant to be a manager, myself included. No. There's a story there, but for another day. But I think, some people are really willing to teach you and not gatekeep.
Yeah, she very much, it's like she's still a big part of my life, and I speak to her quite often, and she really was someone that I needed. Like, she just taught me everything, and allowed me to grow and allowed me to develop. And, you know, if there was downtime, she would be like, right, Fran, speak to this photographer or this stylist and go, you've got next week, you've got a bit of free time, go off and create a project. And so I'd speak with people and we'd collab. And from that, I was able to create work that I was so proud of. Like, yes, it was only test work and wasn't live work, or, you know, it wasn't in a shop somewhere, but I was so proud of it because she allowed me to develop and grow.
Yeah.
And I think you need those types of people around you, especially when you're a junior and you're trying to get into this industry or grow. You need someone like that, I think.
Yeah, and I think you need the space to play as well, especially in our industry, because like you were saying earlier, sometimes things can be a bit stale because you know how to do it, you're an expert in it, and you can do it with your eyes shut, but you need that space to have that creative itch like scratched and just go, right, I'm going to collab with people that I've not worked with before, and let's go and do this, and let's go and do this, and buzz off each other and ping off each other and learn something different as well.
Yeah, definitely. And with our work, we get set a brief and we have to stick to it. We get guidelines and what we need to adhere to and stuff. So when we do get those opportunities to just have fun and just do whatever we want, that makes us, really, I think, in this industry, because those guidelines restrict us, or can do. But I know that you know, it's what the client wants and we have to go with what they want. But these moments where we get to have a play is just essential.
Yeah, I agree with you. And sometimes you do stuff that's maybe a little bit off the guidelines and they're like, whoa, what the hell is that? How dare you change it? And you're like, I literally added a different prop in than what you're used to.
Yeah, I just thought we'd slightly change it up, and then they don't like it. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, that's it. And I like having the guidelines because it gives you a bit of a like format of what each client wants, but sometimes it can be frustrating if you're on the same client for a long time, because often with, I don't know if you found this as well, but often with styling they go, oh, you're an expert in this supermarket's things, let's whack you on there for 6 weeks, and then you're like, right, so they only like this product, they only like this prop, they only like this, they only like this, and that's great, but it kind of stifles you as well because you're stuck in that, you know,
you can't you sort of typecast almost.
Yeah. And then
you can't break out.
Yeah, that's it. But I think it's really interesting retouching, because as you were saying about when Photoshop kind of came about, I remember playing around with Photoshop in our art class I must have been year 10. Oh God, that was way too long ago. And I remember getting frustrated with it because I just didn't understand what Photoshop was. And, you know, like back in those days, if I pressed a wrong button on something, I was like, oh my God, it's going to explode. The computer's going to explode. And just, so I never got the hang of it. So can you explain what retouching is, say to my mum and dad who wouldn't necessarily understand what retouching is?
Yeah. I think really, in a nutshell, retouching is enhancing photography, and I think, or elevating it. I think it can be as basic as just, say, removing dust marks and scratches and thumbprints and whatever, or changing the vibrancy or the brightness of something. I think it can be sort of basic like that, but it can be really advanced where you're creating a composite where you've got 50 images and the client wants one image with everything in. I think that's probably a good explanation.
Yeah.
It's enhancing photography. I think that is it.
Yeah.
But obviously it's all different branches of that.
Yeah, because I think when you're saying about composite images as well, so that would be something like, say, I've styled in a photographer's shot, say like makeup, where the lipsticks are all like cylindrical and they're all mirrored, and we've got to get each one to have its reflections in, so it's not reflecting us and all this studio equipment.
Yeah.
And then you guys kind of layer it up and kind of brush it back in and like bits
Yeah.
back in and take bits back out. And it really intrigues me because I find it incredibly hard. It like blows my mind.
It is pretty amazing. I love that a lot of it is problem solving as well. So like a art director or creative director will say some words, buzzwords, I guess. Can you make it pop or whatever else? And you're like, I know exactly what that means. And, you know, I just love that it's problem solving. And they, like, if I take an example that I did recently where there was although not so much problem solving because I kind of knew what I was doing, but the client had shot a range of ready meals, but the recipe had changed. So they said, we don't have the budget to shoot it again, you know, get the photographer, the stylist, the food stylist, the prop stylist, the art director. We just can't afford to redo it. Can you just remove this ingredient from all these shots? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like that's all it, you know, it can be as basic as just removing some nuts from a curry or whatever it was. And that saved someone a lot of problems and a lot of time and a lot of money. Just something quite, in my eyes, quite sort of basic.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think that's what it is. It's kind of like if I send an image over of, say, like trousers that I've hung up and, you know, on like pin up, and then we actually need like them to look smoother, or, you know, there's a crease that needs lightening, or stuff that you guys can do so quickly that would take me half an hour. And it's kind of if the client knows how retouching and styling works, they know which one is going to be quicker in that instance and most cost effective. And I think that's one of the balances as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, so if a client has 50 bed linen sheets or whatever, and they've all got creases in, how long will that take you to iron out or steam out? Is it going to be quicker to do that, or is it going to be quicker to sort of retouch it, you know, remove those creases, and how noticeable in camera are they? You know, do we need to spend all this time steaming, or can we just make do with kind of what we've got?
Yeah. And I do think like budget is a huge thing now. Like, you know, people are pushing more for more shot count, and then you must be feeling that the same side as well.
Yeah, and I think that the technology as well, so the camera megapixel size and everything is getting bigger, so file sizes are huge, and you can literally see every little bit of detail, so things are taking longer than you know they normally would. So you do have to go back to the client and say, what are these actually going to be used for? Can we reduce the size of the file if it's just for social?
Yeah.
And then you can kind of do that. But yeah, I think things are constantly changing, and obviously we're getting the ever vast changing of AI, which is sort of a little bit worrying for a lot of people in kind of all creative industries. So it's exciting but scary with how things are going.
Yeah, I mean, do you dabble much in any CGI?
Only kind of, I don't do it myself, but I use 3D assets in some of my work that people have already produced, so I just like import them. But no, nothing CGI related.
Yeah, because that's kind of kicking off quite a bit. There's quite a lot of like a lot of stylist friends of mine who are in-house are doing bits of both. So doing like a bit of CGI and a bit of on set. So I wonder if that's going to creep in a little bit more. And I know there's a few like CGI agencies coming out and stuff, and you know, but somebody's still got to take a picture of that product before it gets imported into the system.
Yeah, exactly. And it might be within time, like stylists aren't really on set. There might be at a computer sort of directing where they want things to go potentially. Yeah. But then I think eventually, like if we go all CGI route, eventually we'll go back to photography because people want things realistic. And I don't know. I think it all comes around again as time goes on, I think.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because I know a semi-retired photographer, and he's in his 70s, and he's like, I don't know why you lot like analog. Like, he's like, it's horrible. And like, because he's worked through all of it. And he's like, but
Yeah.
this digital is so amazing. And we were like, yeah, but we want to see what it looked like, you know, from 40 years ago. And he's like, it was shit. But yeah,
I love that.
it comes back around, doesn't it? So
Yeah, definitely.
and maybe it'll be the cherry picked bits of the best bits of it will come back, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's so many industries. Like if you look at the music industry, like we're obviously all listening to stuff on Spotify, but people want like limited edition vinyls, and like the kind of graphic design industry, people still want to do screen printing and like the old formats and stuff. Well, not old formats, but you know, these traditional sort of formats. So it does all come round because I think people love retro and how it should be, I guess.
And like the texture stuff, and you know, like we've got a couple of. I actually bought a screen print, or it might have been a Risso print, the other day, like literally this week. And I think, like, I think when you're creative, you see the nuances in these things, and I think that's what kind of keeps some of it alive as well, because you understand and you appreciate the work that's gone into it, and you know,
definitely.
So yeah, it's a funny one what comes back round, but AI, I think people are just fanning about on AI at the minute.
You reckon?
From what I've seen, yeah.
Some of it's awful.
Oh God, like, yeah.
So, I was playing with it not too long ago, and I just wanted to see what would happen if I removed this equipment from like the set. I just literally tapped in. So this was on Photoshop beta. Removed something. I just tapped in the thing, remove and clean, and then it gave me a picture of a cleaner.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I wanted. So yeah, I think we've got some things to worry about, and maybe not so much as well.
Yeah, it's like I saw a little video of somebody asked AI to tidy up a model's bun, and it put on like a cinnamon roll.
That's genius. I love that.
And I was like, that's just hilarious, because that's not what I suppose it's the language though, isn't it, as well? Like,
yeah, like it thinks, well, but you asked for a bun.
Yeah,
so it's got it right, but just not what you wanted.
Yeah, it's just not got, you know, the hair in a bun.
Maybe we need to be more specific about our language.
Maybe. I mean, it's a funny one. Like my friend was showing me, like he was like put in, say, Percy Pigs and donuts or something, and he was playing around with it, and I was like, this is so weird. It's like you've taken a shed ton of mushrooms and then having a trip, and it's just like crazy. It's not, I don't think it's nuanced enough yet.
No, some of it's really, like I was saying before about this like cleaner that had appeared. It was like out of a horror film. It was actually terrifying.
They're horrible. They're horrible. It was the one of the Pope that got me, you know, where he's wearing a puffer jacket and holding like a Starbucks coffee. And that's the kind of thing like my grandma would send to me and be like, look at the Pope wearing a puffer jacket. And I'm like, Grandma, like, put your glasses on. That's somebody's collage, that, mate. It's not real.
It's not real.
But I think that's where it gets scary, is that if people manipulate it enough that it looks real to the general public, that's where it gets scary.
The deep fake thing that was going around was quite scary. So that they could literally take anyone's face and make it into a video or whatever, and it was quite accurate.
Yeah, there's been a few where they've taken pictures. Somebody's made an AI where it can take pictures, and then in these pictures, these people are clothed, and the AI makes them naked, and that's really scary. Like I'm quite concerned about like the kids coming, you know, teenagers now with the AI and stuff, because I think it has potential to be really threatening towards quite vulnerable people. As much as creatively it's quite funny, like there's parts of it that are quite funny. I think it's supposed to like everything though, isn't there? There's always a dangerous part to everything really, but some of it's quite shocking, and then there's other things that are just hilarious, like the Pope wearing a massive puffer jacket. Like that ain't going to happen. He's not going to be carrying a Starbies round. He's got more refined taste than that, surely.
Yeah, it'd be like an artisan coffee, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
a
Only made.
posh coffee shop.
Yeah, only in the Vatican.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think, yeah, like you say, it is a little bit scary, but hopefully they can kind of monitor it as time goes on.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll just kind of change, and hopefully it'll enhance things that we can't do, or make stuff quicker or more efficient for us. Like
Yeah,
there's got to be a way around it, hasn't there?
yeah.
But
I think they'll always need humans to fix it out and sort it, though.
yeah.
It's not that good,
No,
some of it.
I mean, well, yeah, you getting a random cleaner in your set, that's a bit.
Yeah, she had like red marigolds on
Oh,
and red shoes. Very strange.
oh,
I'll send you the picture.
yeah, I feel like I need to see this.
Yeah.
That's quite funny.
Yeah. Should have left her in.
Yeah, just like, well, I cleaned it up. Got someone else to.
Brilliant.
Oh dear. So how did you get into freelancing?
So the job that I was talking about before, the one that I was there for 6-7 years, it kind of started to become like I just felt like I'd done everything that I could there, and there was no job title to go up to, because the people that were already in those job titles were sound in their job and enjoyed it, and didn't want to move, and there was no other role that I could sort of move up into, so I felt like I couldn't really go anywhere, and creatively I felt like I'd kind of done everything that I could. And as much as I absolutely loved the manager and loved my team, I felt like it was sort of time to move on. So I started to kind of look for other full-time roles, but ones that kind of gave me a little bit more to sort of add to my CV. So management skills and things like that. So I found this role that I thought was perfect. It had sort of management stuff in there, admin, scheduling. So it was a little bit away from creative stuff, but I felt like this kind of role would add stuff to my CV, and tick some boxes that I didn't really have previously. So, and it also had like opportunities to train junior staff, and I thought that is something that's definitely fits me as a person, because I love to pass on the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I applied for this role and went for the interview, and it sounded great. Got there, and I got the job, and when I got there, it just wasn't what they kind of sold me. Kind of felt like I'd been sold a dream a little bit. I felt like I'd told them what I wanted, and they were like, yeah, we got it here, kind of thing. So I remember coming home to my partner Donna, and I was like, this is day 2, and I'm like literally crying. I've made a terrible mistake. Like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I want to do. And obviously 2 days in, you can't really go, yeah, this is not for me. Like, she was like, you need to give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But I just sometimes feel like you just know in your gut when something's not right. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a little bit of time, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And, as time went on, I just thought, this is not for me. And I don't think I'm going to be able to stick it out. And, some people might give a job 12 months, 18 months, but I was just like, this is not right. And so I'd kind of got the fear from leaving that comfortable job of 7 years. And I thought, I'll just carry on the fear and I'll just quit. Which is not something that I recommend doing when you haven't got anything lined up. But I think it just, that role just affected my mental health, and I was like, I'm not in for this. This is not what I want to do. I just don't think anyone should be that down about a job, So, and freelance was always something that I wanted to do anyway in the future. Like, I always saw myself as doing this for myself, because I love the variety of what freelance can give you, and the opportunities and the flexibility and all this sort of stuff, all the pros. So my partner Donna was like, well, you've just got to go freelance and just see what happens. So luckily I'd sort of done 3 years of freelance up to that point. So I'd use my evenings and weekends to do stuff for clients, to build up some sort of client base and a portfolio. So that when I handed in my notice, I had a week of just literally sending those emails,
Yeah.
sending those messages, calling everyone that I knew to say, look, I'm available for like the foreseeable as a freelancer. And it just went from there, really. And like, I don't recommend quitting your job to do it, but it was absolutely the best decision that I've made in like my career, really.
I think you did the right thing, though, in that you kind of, by the sounds of it, you were prepping to go freelance for a while.
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
then to make the jump isn't as scary
Yeah.
as just going, fuck this shit and going freelance.
Yeah.
Because we've got a very similar kind of like story there, because I was
Okay.
full-time for a while. I
Yeah.
actually managed a studio and I was head
Wow.
stylist and everything else. I was very young. I was 24 and I should not have been
Wow.
managing a studio that young. And then I went back into styling. Anyway, cut long story short. And then I was like, do you know what? This isn't for, like, full time is not for me. I want to go freelance.
Okay. Yeah.
And I left there maybe 12 years ago, maybe 13 years ago, with £600 in my back pocket.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So it kind of forced me to find work because I had shit to pay for. So
Yeah.
I'm, again, same as you. I don't recommend it, but you kind of have to put yourself in a position to make yourself make it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's make it or break it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, when you've got 600 quid under your belt, you have to make it.
Yeah. You have to like just take everything. I was working like 7 days a week for probably 2 years and just like absolutely taking every single bit of work that I could.
Yeah.
And like, in a way, you put all that effort in when you first start freelancing to then be able to cherry pick what you want 10 years down the line.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think with the way I did it, I did have something under my, like, I would always recommend, if you can, save between 3 and 6 months worth of salary.
Yeah.
Because if you're not getting work in, at least you've got a buffer. I don't know, it doesn't always work like that because we have commitments and responsibilities and stuff, but that's kind of what I did. And then obviously for 2-3 years, I'd built up some sort of client base. It wasn't massive, but it was something. And also like a freelance portfolio, because I wasn't really allowed to showcase the stuff that I'd done previously. So I had something to back up my skill set and what I could do and sort of prove myself.
Yeah, I think that's part of it as well, because I get people say to me like, oh, can you do magboard? And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously. Because to me, I'm like, of course, I've done it for bloody donkeys. But if they can't see an image of it on your website, because let's face it, something like that is so boring. You don't really want to put it on your website, right? And if they can't see it, they're like, well, obviously she can't do it. I'm like, well, give me the work. Of course I can do it.
Ask the question.
Yeah.
I think so, that can be like I was talking to a friend not too long ago, and he'd put e-com and creative work on his portfolio, and he had been turned down because they thought he was an e-com retoucher.
Oh,
it's like, but I'm showcasing all of what I can do. Like, please don't pigeonhole me into something. Like, I can do a variety of things.
Yeah. And that
was very strange.
That's really strange. And that's the whole point of being freelance, is that you can turn your hand to pretty much anything that somebody asks you to do. And
definitely.
That's also the beauty of it, because then you're not stuck in one thing.
No. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, do you get quite a lot of like a mixture of stuff? Do you end up doing a bit of interiors, bit of ecom, bit of creative? Do you get quite a varied workflow?
Pretty much. I think my bread and butter is like food, drink and still life. But then I do get bits of fashion and portraiture and yeah, like lifestyle and room sets and stuff. I literally can just, I don't know, to me it's just pixels. You probably feel the same, like just like props or this, like
Yeah.
it's just a thing that I work with. So I think my skills are kind of quite interchangeable and stuff. But generally I do a lot of food, drink and still life, but I love Photoshop that much that I'll just like literally do anything because I love it. I just think it's amazing that people pay me to do this, like to do my dream. I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? Like when we like day to day, I don't know whether you think this, day to day, I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm doing that today. I'm dressing in interior set for whatever supermarket or whoever. And then my mum or dad will text me and be like, what are you up to today? And I'm like, oh, just dressing for this. And they're like, you're so casual about it. This is really cool. And I'm like, yeah, but I do it every day. Like, and yet, like, 10-year-old me is literally internally screaming, being like, woo, look at what we get to do every day.
And it's so good, isn't it? And like when you work on brands that people have actually heard of, I think that's a proper fist pumping moment when you can literally list the people on your website or wherever and people have heard of them. And I'm like, that is proper. I just love that. It's your proper fist pumping moments.
Yeah. I really like it. And I like, it's nice when big brands contact you as well because they think your style will fit. Like I've just had that this year. A large retailer contacted me. Their photographer found my Instagram and was like, "Oh, we're rebranding. Your style will fit with our rebrand."
Wow.
And like when you're just like pinching yourself, like what?
Yeah.
Little old me, you sure?
Yeah. How did you find me?
Yeah. And like I genuinely ask people who come out of the woodwork how they found me, and most of the time it's on Instagram.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really weird though, isn't it, how social media works like that?
Yeah, like they must find you through a tag or suggested or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd tag it all with, like props or stylist or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know which tag it was so I can carry on using it?
Yeah. That's fantastic though that people email you like that just found you through Instagram.
Yeah, it's one of those that I don't know about you. I don't put loads of effort into it. I'm trying to inject a bit of personality into it because it was just literally a second portfolio. Because sometimes I wasn't really getting much back from it. And then the past 18 months, I've had a few not little, but quite big jobs come out of it. And I think, well, actually, it probably is worth me spending the equivalent of a day on doing a bit of it. But
no, I think Instagram's probably one of my most, I don't know how to describe it. Like the way I get more sales, like people just message me through Instagram, like I've seen this, or I know you through this person, and can we work together? I use like Instagram and LinkedIn a lot because I think they're probably the best platforms to get work, I think.
Yeah, how do you find LinkedIn? I'm finding it quite dry.
I do enjoy it. I do like it because I just think it's because I follow a lot of people in my industry, so it is all tailored to stuff that I'm interested in.
Yeah,
like photographers and creative people, retouchers. So I like keeping up with the latest in Photoshop or the latest trends or whatever in retouching or photography. So I do like it. I enjoy it.
I think people don't understand what a stylist is, so it's harder for me to get work and stuff via LinkedIn.
Yeah,
and
I think when you say stylist, people think, oh, you work for a celebrity doing their fashion.
Yeah,
and it is not that. There's so many branches of it.
Yeah, that's it. And like a lot of stylists I know also art direct, and we've got several like strings to our bows. And I think I often get like people just be like, can you shoot this for me? I'm like, nope, I could try, but it would be really shit.
I get some photography requests. I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find a photographer to do that.
Yeah. It just, it's very, I don't know. Maybe I'm just been barking up the wrong tree on LinkedIn, maybe a little bit, but I have found it. Someone else said to me, keep going with it. It's like you'll get there. And I think my kind of business, because I'm just dealing with myself and I often physically have to be on set, I'm not necessarily put in front of the right people on LinkedIn.
Right. That might be it.
Not the bookers and producers and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess like with you, maybe you're going straight to maybe like brands are directly working with you rather than through an agent.
Yeah, like I try and go almost straight to the source really, and like follow all the photographers.
Yeah.
Who kind of like know the brand and know the client to sort of recommend me, or they might be doing the budgeting themselves and can employ me or whatever to do that project.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I do it. So that I think potentially my LinkedIn's more tailored, like you say, tailored to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I need out of it.
It's
great for jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely found when I had a bit of soul searching and was looking for a full-time job, which I thought I wanted and then lasted 12 weeks.
More than me.
Honestly, it just was not my vibe.
Oh.
And I think the email I sent to everybody when I left, because I knew quite a lot of people from different studios, they'd all kind of merged into this studio in Warrington. Yeah. And they all kind of knew me. And then I just sent this little email and was like, it's been one hell of a roller coaster, and just sent a roller coaster gif and was like, see you guys.
Bye.
Oh, honestly, it just wasn't my vibe. But I think LinkedIn was really great for finding that, because one of the head stylist there was like looking for a full-timer. Okay. So I just like messaged, and that was quite it was quite handy. But yeah, it's weird. I find it weird. But then I'm more of a visual person as well. So
yeah, that might be it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a funny one. But then, yeah, like you say, like maybe for yourself, if you're finding work out of it, it's worth putting the time in, isn't it?
Yeah, like you always get like looking for a freelance retoucher or art worker or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you can, I think it's like an informal way of getting yourself in there, because you're not having to go through some boring application. You can literally speak to the person who's got the job and be like, here's my portfolio. Yeah. If I'm the right fit for you, let's chat. And if I'm not, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. I don't think I've written a CV in a decade. Honestly, like if a freelance job, one big clothing and home department brand asked me to freelance for a bit, and then they asked me for all this like information. They wanted my bloody wedding certificate basically as well. And wow. They asked for more information than the mortgage advisor asked for buying a freaking house. And she was like, do you have a CV? I said, I just laughed at her. I was like, yeah, it's my portfolio. That's my CV.
Yeah.
Is my
That's
portfolio.
All you need to know.
Yeah. Don't need to know anything else. And then it made me laugh because I've got a tablet. So I like signed the paperwork on the tablet.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's not a wet signature. And I was like,
for goodness sake.
But it kind of is. And then she was like, can you scan it in? I went, I'm a millennial. I don't have a working printer anymore. That's not a thing.
That's hilarious.
Like, what?
Oh no. Like,
So,
can you come into our establishment and physically sign the paperwork? We need you here.
Yeah. Like, honestly. So yeah, that was, and then they wanted all your bank details, and I was like, all of this is on my invoice. Like, it's all the information you need is on my invoice.
Yeah.
But they were just very, I guess they were very diligent in, they have to make sure there's no fraud and all sorts of other things going on. But I was like, most people just at most want your national insurance number and that's it.
Yeah, I know. Why do they need a wedding certificate?
I think it just because we've been married 5.5 years. I don't know whether there was like a time limit on still needing my maiden name on some previous paperwork or something. I don't know. I was just like, honestly, hun, I don't even know where it is. So yeah, that I never went ahead with it because I was just like, this is so much paperwork, and I'd quoted them like a fair price, but I wish I'd added like another 20 quid just for
Admin
admin.
fee.
Yeah, because it was just like, it probably cost me more than an hour's work in admin just to organize it all.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's those kind of people then you think, well, what happens when I get on set? Is it going to be this regulated when I'm on set?
Yeah.
You know, is it going to be a pain in the ass of a job?
Mm-hmm. And then getting paid after.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be a faff.
Yeah. And I noped out of it. I was like, this isn't for me.
No.
we'll
I'm
back
out.
away. Yeah. Back away like Homer in the bush.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite GIF, I think.
Oh, same. It works for so much.
Yeah. All of life.
Yeah. Family chats, quick one.
Yeah. Charlotte's left the chat.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. Talking a little bit of social media, have you signed up to Instagram's Threads yet?
Yes.
How do you find it?
I've just signed up. That's as far as I've got.
Yeah.
So just waiting for people to, roll with it before I do, I think.
I've sat on it. I got it yesterday, I think. Yeah, maybe it was yesterday. And it appears a little unhinged, if I'm honest.
Oh.
In a kind of like funny kind of unhinged way. Because you know how I stopped being on Twitter maybe 8, 9, maybe even 10 years ago because it was just too politically like argumentative and just it's not like that at all. It's just people are being quite funny on it and quite silly and a little bit unhinged.
Oh.
Yeah, it's quite...
I have to get on it.
Yeah, do you know what? I follow a photographer and I can't remember his name. And he does really nice images of forests and mountains in the US. And he's been posting loads of images on there that he hasn't released, that he didn't deem good enough to be on Instagram. And I'm like, these images are insane. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, how were these not good enough for your Instagram? They're incredible. Print them all out and let's put them on my wall, please.
Yeah.
Just amazing. So I think there's going to be some little gems like that on there, but
maybe use it as a sort of behind the scenes kind of platform.
Yeah. But also on the other side, it's another social media to keep up with.
Yeah. I'd used Twitter before, like on a different sort of username handle. And I recently did my Photoshop Fran one on there, but I haven't really used it. So I'm thinking I might just scrap it and just have it all on Threads and just chat what I want to chat about, freelance life and behind the scenes stuff that is just text based and not the visual side. Yeah,
I think that's what seems to be kind of people are getting quite a lot of engagement on from what I've seen. I've posted like a couple of bits, like my other half, we just went for a walk the other night and the kids' playground was abandoned. So we like went down the slide and stuff and he filmed me going down the slide and I fell out the other end. So like I used that today to be like sliding into the weekends and like, you know, make it a bit funny, trying to make like a bit more of a personal side on my work Instagram. But then I posted it on Threads, dead.
No one looked at it.
No. So I think it needs to be like text based on Threads for people to properly engage, unless it's like behind the scenes photography stuff.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the route that I'm going to take, more of a, like you say, a personality and what we do behind the scenes and what the sort of day-to-day life is like.
Yeah. I tried to get it for my work Instagram, but it only worked for my personal one. And I'm like, I've got 3 Instagram accounts. I've got one for the podcast, one for work, one for personal, because there's certain personal things at work people don't need to know about. And and it wouldn't let me log it in as like Stylish, so I've had to do like my personal one, open it up as like a public profile, and then I can just post, I guess, like work, behind the scenes work stuff, and then the podcast and stuff. So that's how I'm going to do it. It's just
all
like,
under one.
And then people will just hopefully twig who it is. But yeah, it was just, I found myself scrolling it and I was just like, great, I'm just going to get carpal tunnel in his thumb even worse now. I've just got another social media to scroll.
Yeah, something else to manage.
Yeah, like it's overwhelming enough as it is.
Well, they just keep bringing out stuff that people just latch onto and then it dies and it's like, oh, okay. And then something else, and you feel like almost you have to download it to get your username so that you'll always have it, just in case it blows up.
Yeah, because like some of the I'm going to sound so old. Some of the younger people on set were using Be Real, where it prompts you to take a picture, front facing and back facing camera.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the girls, I was on like a drink shoot, and she was like, "Oh, I hope my Be Real goes off," and I'm like, "Sorry, what is Be Real?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, you're old. You only use WhatsApp." I'm like, "Burn!" Like,
Ouch, that hurt.
yeah, like take that scolding iron away from me, please.
Yeah. Oh, they're so cruel, aren't they?
Oh yeah, too cruel. Too cruel. I'm like, you're only 10 years younger than me. Like, what? How can I...
That's such a difference, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, when I was in my early 20s or mid 20s, I didn't think mid 30s was like that old. And now I feel like I'm mid 30s and I feel like they're looking at me like I'm really old, like a dinosaur.
Yeah, past it.
Yeah. And I'm like,
same.
I've still got loads of figure left in me, but I just need to be fed by 8.
Yeah. No all-nighters for me.
Yeah. None of those days.
Yes.
Yeah. Even down to like, I was wearing some like Air Max, and one of the girls was like, "Would you wear those?" to the younger girl, and she was like, "Absolutely not." Like,
wow.
How dare you slag off Air Max, please?
What were they wearing?
I think she's just wearing Converse, you know, not even like cool trainers. So
I mean, Converse are pretty cool, though, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I don't wear them because they're. This is going to sound so old. Because I'm stood on my feet all day. The soles are too thin.
I knew you were going to say that. It is true, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I've hit that point in life, Fran. I've hit that point. I think if I was sat down, I'd be fine in them.
Yeah. But or not wearing them at all.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, just barefoot. Absolutely fine.
Just having for show.
Yeah. Just sat on the desk. Yeah. It's just, it's mad how the new creatives coming into our industry are like, it's just mad to see their ideas. And like, I don't know if you're finding this as well, when I see younger stylists come in and I'm like, holy shit, I wore that when I was a teenager.
Yeah, like, it's all coming back around.
Oh, it really is. It really is. And like, I cannot get away with it. I couldn't get away with it then, and I can't get away with it now. And I'm sad. It makes me upset.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't wear pedal pushers and whatever else we used to wear.
Yeah, the cheap Uggs.
Yeah, poppers, you know, those pants, trousers.
My other half bought himself a pair because he didn't have a pair when he was younger, and he got a pair off the market. And then he went and bought the Adidas pair, and he loves them, absolutely loves them.
Ah, good for him.
Bless him, he's living his childhood dream.
Is he just wore them once, or?
No, he wears them quite a lot, but he doesn't unpop them, so I don't really see what the point is.
Oh.
They're just
like trousers.
Yeah. So, I mean, they look nice, you know, fit him well, but like, and he's living his like, you know, best 10-year-old naif life. But I don't really understand why we had them in the 90s.
No, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm glad they've come back around and it's earning someone money again.
Yeah, I'm here for the athleisure thing, the kind of like being allowed to wear leggings and like sports socks and stuff, and like cute little sporty things at work. That's quite nice because it makes your life a bit more comfortable, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It gives you a bit of like personality and
yeah, that's it. It's a funny one. I always find it really hard to find what to wear at work because I'm bent over all the time, or lifting stuff, or like on the floor scrabbling around, or you know, I end up in like cycling shorts and a big t-shirt or dungarees.
Yeah, comfies.
Yeah, that's it.
But you don't mind getting dirty.
Yeah. Do you have to go into studios much, or are you home based now?
It's all home based.
Oh, amazing.
Remote work, so I can wear whatever I like.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the options there, like if you're a freelancer, you know, you can go into studio and there's opportunities to do that. But everyone that I speak to just sends me the shots, and I work remotely, which means I can work for anyone in the world, basically.
Yeah.
I think COVID proved that we can do it from home.
Yeah. Yeah. And also that's really good for you guys if you choose to travel. You
Yeah.
can still work from wherever.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I had one of my old colleagues from my last job, he went travelling. They saved up so much money and then they just decided to quit work and go travelling. But, if he needs a top up of money, he can just do retouching from anywhere, which I think is amazing that you can do that.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like, it's such that and copywriting and, all these things that you don't need to be in the studio for at all.
No, I think that it's like I said, the pandemic was that kind of moment where everyone was like, right, we can't shut the shop. We have to carry on. What can we do? And it all kind of worked out. And maybe if that hadn't have happened, maybe I would have to go into the studio or into, premises and stuff. But I think I love working remotely. Obviously, I enjoy people and having that company and stuff, but I also just like to put my headphones in and just, hyper focus and do my work and stuff, and the flexibility of it as well. Like if I need to nip out for something, or take kids to school or whatever it is, like it can be done. But I've never had like any issues or problems with it. People do ask, can you come into the studio? And if it's a no, it's a no. And they, they move on to someone else, or they say, okay, well, how can we work together remotely then? And let's see what we can do there.
Yeah. So were you full time when the pandemic hit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was at my last job. So what year was that? 2020, 21?
2020. Yeah. Oh, God.
It was 2020. Oh, my God.
Oh, fucking hell.
Wow. So I was full time and everything sort of really slowed down with the shoots. And it was more about trying to elevate and enhance existing imagery for a while. And how can we use these shots that we shot last year? How can we make them different so we can use them on socials?
Yeah.
And then obviously slowly we were able to sort of introduce studio work and stuff, but it was quite slow, obviously, with the social distancing and everything.
Yeah.
It was difficult. But a lot of the photographers had to shoot from their own homes. So even though it was sort of small sets and stuff with like literally there would be photographers like shooting in their kitchen. It was only like small products and stuff, but they still, we still had to work because, we still had things to sell and clients to work with.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? I can't imagine. My work just stopped. I had the choice to go in, but we chose, because I'm asthmatic, we chose for me not to go in. And that's probably, I've spoken about it before on the podcast, but it's probably one of my biggest regrets because I freaking caught COVID anyway. So I should have just gone in and earned money. But it just kind of ceased for me. Like, and then when I went back into studios, it was all that social distancing, or like you say, really slow. Like product wasn't getting delivered,
Yeah.
We started to feel it probably like 2 months before it all kicked off, just because the product wasn't there to shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, we had like warnings like weeks before, like we're definitely going into a lockdown and we need to start thinking about preparing for that. Yeah. And that's when it all moved over to Teams and getting us hooked up on the servers at home and stuff.
Yeah.
But everything did slow down. But then it's sort of, like I said, we had photographers shooting in the studio, and we had at their homes, and we had like models taking photographs of themselves on their phones, and then us receiving them to retouch and stuff like that. So we just had to think of alternate ways to get these images and these products into the world.
Yeah it was mad. Like, I really wish I'd kept a diary, because it was a bit mental, wasn't it? Because you've just reminded me when you were saying about models taking pictures on their phones. I remember that as well. And just people just trying to figure it out, weren't they?
Yeah. Did you have to do any? You said that you were kind of not in studio, but were you able to do anything remotely, like help out in any way?
No, I actually used quite a lot of my time down the allotment, and
Oh,
I got back into painting and
oh wow.
just kind of unlocked my creative side again that was kind of suppressed just because I didn't have time.
Yeah.
So, and I walked the dog a lot.
Yeah.
And my husband was still working, you see, because at the time he worked for Openreach.
Right.
So he only had 6 weeks where he wasn't allowed in people's houses. Then he had to go back into people's houses in the height of the pandemic.
Right. Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was a ball of fun, shall we say.
I bet.
So yeah, we just chose to like knuckle down, like not knuckle down, what's the word? I kind of like penned myself in a little bit. I don't know whether it's actually the right thing to do because I think now my anxiety is actually worse.
Right.
But I think that at the time you do what you're told to do, don't you? So,
Yeah.
but the allotment was my saving grace, I think. We had a 30-meter long by 10-meter wide allotment.
Wow.
And it was gigantic.
Yeah.
Like, like too much for two full, because I was pretty much working full time.
Yeah.
Too much for us with a house and a dog to look after. Like, it was beyond really what we ever needed.
Yeah.
But I managed to get it like looking really nice. Because I treated it like my full-time job. I was down there all the time.
Yeah.
But so it's quite a nice, wholesome thing.
Yeah. Like, I think if it taught us anything, it was to slow down.
Yes. Yeah.
And just, like you say, get in touch with your creative side more and just to, do things that you weren't doing because you just did not have time.
Yeah, I think like I fully appreciated that time, and now I try my hardest to take breaks, and like I've put boundaries in, and because having all that access to you via your social medias, your email, your phone, like my phone is like a work laptop. I'm constantly like booking jobs or rearranging stuff and everything else, that I think having those boundaries and being like, actually, I'll look at that on Monday because it's not urgent and I'm out with my hubby,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I think that is a great tip for people, I think, to have to be able to say no and this is my time now.
Yeah. It takes a long time to get to that point though, because when you first start out freelance, you want to take on every single job and you want to say yes to everything. And you literally pour blood, sweat and tears into your own business because you're like we were saying earlier, like you have to get on with it. No one else is going to put that rocket up your ass. You've got to get on with it. No. But also I think there is something to be said for having a bit of boundaries, and kind of, me and my husband were actually saying today about us going on holiday. And he said, when we went on our honeymoon, there was no internet unless you sat in the lobby. So he said he remembers me taking like an hour and just saying, I need to go and answer some emails and then I'll be back. And then I put my phone in the safe for the rest of the time. I'll put it on airplane mode or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's what you need to do again when we go on holiday. And I was like, actually, that worked really well because it gives you time to chase for invoices or anything super urgent like that.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it, you can just put an out of office on and be like, cool, I'm away.
Yeah.
But I think if people think they can contact you all the time, they will.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like we are entitled to a holiday.
Yeah.
Break,
Yeah.
We need our own like recharge time and stuff. I had one of my first clients when starting out had really terrible boundaries when it came to work, and I'd get contacted at like 9 p.m. for things, and I'm like, I don't think any client of yours is going to be wanting this right now, surely. Like, can I wait until the morning? And it's like, no, need stuff now. It's like that. I think from that, because that was like one of my first clients, I've learned from, I don't accept that.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's only been, not even, well, it'll be 12 months next week. And that isn't as long as perhaps how you've been in the industry for, but like for me, I just don't accept that. Like, that, come on.
But I really wish I'd done it sooner. So I think it takes balls to do it, but also it's the same kind of thing. If people aren't paying you, you still need to put that accountant hat on and just be like, hey, you need to pay me. And, it's setting those boundaries, but also not worrying about what people think about you setting boundaries as well, because they'll either accept them and work with you, or they won't, and you go work with somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think, like, to me, I don't think those ways are acceptable. Like, if I was in the studio with you when we finished at 6, you're not going to be mithering me at 9 o'clock. I've left the studio, like, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So as a freelancer who is at home with their laptop, how is it acceptable for you to message me at 9 o'clock, kind of, sort of thing? To me, that's strange. Weird. It's strange.
Yeah. And also, I think you're right. Like, the client isn't going to be around at 9 o'clock at night. So they're not going to need it. So, and at best, people really start work at 9:30 in the morning. Like, that first half an hour, no one's really doing anything other than making a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So,
chatting.
and chatting. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's where I've kind of like come to a halt as well. Like, in a similar way, because I had actually cut long story short, but somebody rolled into my car this week, and
no,
where you're just like, oh, for God's sake, this is just inconvenient. And then I was getting phone calls left, right, and centre, and then it hit like 5:30, and I just said to my wife, I'm not picking it up. Like, I'm done for the day. I've had enough of speaking to all these insurance people. I am done. Yeah. And then I didn't start ringing them until 9:30 this morning. I thought they can wait. Like, nothing's urgent. My car's still drivable. Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think you need to put that break in, because otherwise you're like fretting about it when there's no need. But then on the flip side, some stuff takes 2 minutes to sort out, and it saves you worrying about it for like 3 hours.
The anxiety. Yeah, definitely.
I have to write little lists and like tick them off. Especially if I'm off, and just kind of be like, right, okay, I've done that. I've sent this email. I've done that. Because otherwise it all goes off in my head, and it's like a max of half an hour of my time to finish all these things off.
Yeah. I love a to-do list.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least a list of, like, get all that information out of your brain and just dump it on a bit of paper. Yeah. And it's there, and you can, like you say, just tick things off as you go.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. We got one stuck to the fridge, and I'm just like, write this. But also, like, if I don't write certain things down, I'll tell my husband it and he forgets.
All right. It's best to write it down always.
Yeah. And then I'm like, have you done that? And he's like, So I have to move the list so he sees it.
Here's the list. Put it on his forehead. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. Attach it to him somewhere.
Yeah. And with a pen, and he can cross it off.
Yeah, that's it. All attached with a bit of string, like mittens used to be, through your jacket.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I love a to-do list, but I think you'll probably find as a freelancer, like, it's never ending. Like, it never ends. Like, constant adding stuff to it, and you might cross it off one week, but then it gets re-added the next, and
because you're wearing like so many hats. You're trying to not only physically do your job, but you're your booking manager, you're your accountant, you're your social media manager, you're like chasing for payments, you're chasing for bookings, you're doing about 20 different things, making sure your website still works. Like, my website had a tiny mistake in it, and it stopped working for 6 months, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And when I finally sat down to look at it, it took me 10 minutes. And I was like, quick Google, quick YouTube tutorial, done.
Yeah.
And I was like, this has been bugging me for months.
Yeah.
And it's just because I didn't have time to sort it out, nor the like understanding of what was broken, basically.
Yeah.
But that can just shit like that can just haunt you. And then you're the only person responsible for it. And I was sending out my bloody website to loads of clients. Like, here's my work. And they couldn't see anything.
I'm really good, I promise. It's on there.
Believe me, please.
They're like, there's no website there.
Yeah. Oh, God, honestly.
But you are right. You had, like, for me, like, my business is literally at the forefront of my mind all the time. Like you say, not just the actual work itself, but all the little things that go into it. I don't know, like, if you have this where I get like messages from my friends or people on LinkedIn who are just starting out, like saying, how do you get in? How do you become a freelancer? And I'm like, it's actually quite a straightforward, easy thing to be a freelancer.
Yeah.
But it's everything that comes with it. Like, it's not just the work, it's every little thing that you have to think about. Like you say, your marketing and your admin, like getting like you have to be a salesperson and all these different, an accountant, like all these things, you have to be it all. It's not just the actual work.
Yeah, I think it comes with a lot of baggage that people forget that somebody else does for them when they're full time.
Yeah.
You know, but also on the flip side, I always think, and my dad is a builder, so will not kill me for this, but he always said to me, he was like, if some people can be sole traders as builders, anyone can do it. Because he's met some right, like, melons. And I think, like, you know, we're all capable of doing it. But it's also, I was chatting to a designer friend of mine, and we were saying about, I pay for an accountant and she's the same. And we were like, we pay whatever it is, I don't know, a couple £100 for an accountant once a year. And she just went, I'd rather go to work for the day and the expert in that field deal with my accounts than me get so confused, spend a week getting really confused and angry and still not understanding what I've done in the end anyway. And I think that's also part of being freelance, is finding the things that you are not good at and outsourcing them.
Yeah, definitely. And it's okay to do that. Like, people think, oh, I need to be good at it all. It's like, you don't have to be. You can, like you say, you can outsource. Like, if you need a logo, just get a graphic designer to make you a logo. Or, you know, like you say, your accountancy stuff. Or if you need a social media person to sort that out, do that. Like you say, you don't have to be good at it all.
No, and sometimes, like, I must pay, a couple £100 for my accountant a year, and they've just saved me £2,500.
Wow.
So it's like worth it in the long run. If you look at it like that, you spend a tenth of the money that you would have spent had you done it yourself, because they're the experts, aren't they? And, you know, like,
definitely.
It's the same with when we were buying the house, and, like, you know, you get a mortgage advisor, because I don't understand all that paperwork. So I didn't, you know, I'm not going to go to school for 10 years to learn all of that.
No, definitely not.
So I do think that's something that, if people are going freelance, need to consider, you know, like, add that into your yearly kind of budget, I guess.
Yeah. I've got an accountant just because it's something that I don't have to think about. And if I've got questions, or like I don't understand something about something to do with my financial whatever, I literally just ask them, and there's no like silly question. Like, I don't understand it, so if my question's stupid, then whatever, just give me the answer. Like, to them, it's not a stupid question. And I'm glad I've got one, because they just deal with it all for me. I literally don't have to think about it.
I'm the same. I also use QuickBooks, which helps. And like, they just log into the other side, and then they email me and they're like, what's this? And I'm like, advertising or whatever, and they're like, yeah, fine, cool. And just send me a bit of paper to sign, and I'm like, this is amazing, you know, like,
I love it.
Because I just think, like you say, sometimes you just need an expert in it. And much like people would come to us for our expertise, you know, we go to them, and it's worth it in the long run. Like,
definitely. And you can write it off as an expense.
Yeah, exactly. Love writing stuff off for expenses. I have asked if my dog can go down as a guard dog. And the answer was yes, if she barked when someone walked through the door, which she doesn't. She rolls over and shows them her nipples.
So can she not be a guard dog then?
No, because she's too soft.
No. What, does someone, like, you know, come in and sort of take notes? Do they check that, or what? How can you even prove that she is or isn't? Well,
I guess if you got investigated, because they just pluck people out of thin air, don't they, to get investigated every so often. So I guess if they came round and she was all like loving and showed them all her toys, I think she might get like knocked off. So we just went with a no with that one.
I bet I could put mine down as a guard dog, because she barks all the time at everything.
Yeah, do it. Give it a try. What's the worst that happens? Your accountant says no.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's what they're there for. Like, people do say, can I put this through? And it could be a yes, it could be a no. You might as well figure it out. Because I was talking to a couple of freelance friends and I was like, what do you guys put down? And they're like, all these things. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize how much you could put through as expenses.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's so much that is related to your business that you need.
Yeah. Like your, I think it's part of my internet goes in, room for an office, bit of electricity, some household bills, that kind of thing, because you're working from home sometimes. There's quite a lot. You can even charge clothes as uniform and stuff. There's
that too.
So much stuff. But this is where like I wouldn't know because I'm not keeping up with what's coming out on HMRC.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't know what to charge against it. So I just put everything and then my accountant bats stuff back to me and says like, stop being cheeky.
Yeah.
But you know,
can't put McDonald's down.
Yeah. Like, please stop putting your dog treats on there. We've already told you.
Yeah. No more squeaky toys. Thank you.
You've spent £700 on tennis balls this month.
You're like, but I use them in the studio.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I'm sure there is a thing where they use tennis balls on tripods and stuff.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, to stop marking the floors.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh dear. It's so funny though, but it's like when I say to my other half, about using my car and stuff, I'm like, I claim for all my fuel and like, your journeys and things. And that's what's good about QuickBooks. I sound like an advertisement, but it tracks your mileage as well. So when you're backwards and forwards from studios, so you don't even have to like, there's no thinking involved because lovely little AI is doing it for me. So
great.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, that's one that I recommend. I know there's a few others, like, is it Zero? Or there's a couple of others that do a very similar thing that several people use. But yeah, it just, it makes your life a bit easier. You can just track it. And then like, say if you're ill or whatever, like my other half can just log in and email as though it's me and be like, please can you pay? And it takes a bit of pressure off. He knows how to use it and stuff. So I think that's quite helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very little every month, it just, like you say, is all there. Someone else can log in if needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that slight reassurance as well, because it kind of is an accountancy program. So that kind of filters stuff as well. And then you can link it up to your bank account and stuff, can't you? So that's even more useful.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Does it automatically send invoices and stuff?
Yes.
To people.
Yeah. And it sends, some of my clients actually don't like it because it's like a third party email, and then they have to click through and download the invoice. And sometimes it comes up on those phishing emails.
I see. Yeah.
So sometimes I have to download the invoice and then send it to them. Which is fine. But then you can also send them an email as though QuickBooks is your accountant and just be like, hey, this invoice is due. Just a reminder, this is due this day or what have you. So that's quite handy.
Great. Yeah. Automatically, is that?
You have to literally press like send, but it automatically writes like a polite nudge to get paid, basically.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
It's quite handy because someone I know from ages ago actually set up like her own accounts email for her own business so that she could be a bit more like forceful when she was asking for money and stuff.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I thought it was really genius, but like I'd get so confused.
Yeah. You end up signing off as yourself.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and not Barbara from accounts.
Yeah. That's great. I love that she does that.
Yeah.
Little alter ego.
Yeah, and like sometimes you've got to put that alter ego on to get paid though.
Yeah, definitely.
I had a client like not pay me for like weeks on end, and I had to email their like system that they used, and I was like, look, I'm trying desperately I made it like really professional, but like I was like, I could really do with this money, like please make sure that you pay it. And they're like, oh well, it'll be done in a week. And I'm like, it's 6 weeks late, like I'm not here to uphold your business, just pay me. You have the funds to pay me. You're a multi-million-pound business. And I was like, please pay it by the end of the day or else I'll have to go through small claims court. So small claims court can cost you maybe 30 quid to get your money.
Yeah.
But it's a pain in the arse. It's just an inconvenience for everyone involved. And that client then paid by 5 p.m. that day.
That's the thing when you start sort of saying things like that. They're quite quick at pressing that payment button, aren't they?
Yeah. It can take like 6 weeks because there was a miscommunication between somebody clicking a wrong button or something, or, or just simply missing an invoice, which happens, Yeah. And I think you give people grace, but obviously grace doesn't pay mortgage, does it? So,
no,
there's a certain limit. Again, going back to boundaries, there's a certain boundary that you have to put in for yourself because otherwise you get trampled on a little bit.
Yeah, I think it happens to it's mainly these sort of bigger corporations, isn't it, where they're just a little bit tight with their money, I think. And I had something similar where I wasn't paid. It only happened the once, but they didn't pay me for 3 months. Oof. And again, it was a big multi-million pound company. And to them, it was pennies, but to me, I need that money kind of.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money to me. To them, it's nothing. Yeah. And you've taken, like you say, weeks or months to pay me.
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't communicated properly through the chain.
Yeah. And that can be really frustrating when you just want to clip someone around the ear who's just not sent an email properly, and you're like, hun, this would pay my mortgage for 2 months, please just hurry up. Like,
yeah, I need this money.
Yeah, like clutching. But yeah, I do think as well, some of these bigger companies, they make you wait 60 days because then they accrue the interest on your money that's sat in their account.
Right.
So it's almost like a business thing for them because then they're getting interest on money before it moves out. And yeah, it's not very nice. Sneaky. But yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, I wish I could hold my time and just accrue interest on that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Wouldn't it just? Like, oh yeah, I'll just go down my allotment for 2 hours and then I'll come into work.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's like, it is fun. Like, you do just have to put those boundaries in. And I went freelance quite young. I was only 24, 25. So I think like you don't as much when you're that younger, you care a lot about what other people think about you. And you also care so much about all your clients. And I care about my clients now, but if I don't get paid, that's one of my big red shiny flags. Like,
definitely.
And I think you get more confident as you get older as well, and you know where you want to be and who you want to be working for, and you put your boundaries in for yourself. But I didn't do it a lot when I was younger. But yeah, it's just age.
I think payment is a red flag, isn't it? I think like when you've been in the industry for a long time or been freelancing for a long time, when you get to the point where people aren't paying you on time or not at all, you know that you're never going to work with them again. You've got plenty of other clients and quick payers and people that you love working with, and that, like you say, that you care about. That these people that are a bit crappier at paying, you don't have to work with them again if you don't want to. Like you say, you have to have boundaries.
Yeah. Massively. But I think you, like, as well, when you're younger and you're first starting out, you just go for it, don't you? Try everything. But like, I remember once where a client hadn't paid me for like 6 weeks, and it was 6 weeks work as well. So it was probably 12 weeks by the time I'd not been paid.
Yeah.
And my other half was like, what are you going to do? You're in there like next week. And excuse me. And I took my laptop into the studio manager and opened up my bank account and was like, there's something missing out of here. It's like 3 months work or whatever it was.
Wow.
And my other half was like, you can be such a dick. And I was like, yeah, but like, if I've not been paid, now I'm getting annoyed.
Yeah.
Like, I can also, he'll take the piss out of me for saying this, but I like being an independent woman financially, and like, and I think if you're then relying on your partner, I mean, we're a team, but like, I don't want to always rely on him to cover my ass,
Yeah.
because someone else
Yeah, I
just
get
can't be
that.
bothered to pay you.
Yeah. And the fact that you had to work with them again.
Yeah.
So how long would it have been until you got paid? Like you would have to do like the whole of the stint before you got paid?
Well, I told them that if it wasn't in my account that end of that day, that I wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
And the other stylist just stood there like gobsmacked, like, what? And I was like, well, I can't afford it. Like we've hit crunch. Like my credit
Yeah.
cards like hit its limit. I have no more money. Like what else do I do?
That's it.
You know? I got paid.
On the day.
Yeah, on the day, yeah. Yeah.
Good.
But I think, 24-year-old me would never have dreamed of doing that.
No.
It's quite a funny one, because as soon as you start chatting to freelancers about getting paid like that, we've all had a horror story like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
everybody has dealt with it in their own way. And I think sometimes I try now to be like a little bit more gentle in my approach, because I think there's no need to be a dick. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Don't need
absolutely. You can send a friendly, gentle nudge.
Yeah.
Like you say, you don't have to be a dick about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like it's sending several nudges and then saying, come on, this, this is going too far. And I think like that's a learning curve as well. It's something that you learn on the job, how to deal with getting paid by people and like how to deal with clients, because when you're full time, you don't have to deal with that side of things. You don't have to deal with clients face to face, or, someone else does all that for you.
Yeah. Like you say, you've got those hats to wear. But I think like we're all kind of in the same boat. Like I've got a couple of clients that not always pay me on time, but they do pay me. But I know they're in the same situation, that they're waiting for payment from their client, and we're just in a big chain. Like I do get it, but there does come a point where, when it's weeks and weeks later, you do have to kind of give them a bit of a stricter nudge, maybe. Not be a dick about it, because you care about these people and like we're all in it together, but we do also have bills to pay.
And I think you're right there. And I think also it depends on like how big the company is as well. And if it's like a little company, like maybe like a one-man band or a 10 person company, you're like, yeah, cool, and you've got another job on that will cover you because you've done like 3 different jobs that week. And I think that's when I'm a bit more like looser about it, because I'm like, that's a nice job, they'll pay me, I just need to gently nudge. But when it's like a multi-million-pound business and they're not paying you in 3 months, that's piss taken.
And massively. And it's that particular job went on I can't remember how many. I only did like a couple of days, so it was like it wasn't even a mass amount of money, but the conversations were just going on for weeks and weeks and weeks about the payment, and then the person you would speak with would be on holiday, and then you'd speak to someone else, and then they'd be on annual leave, and it just went on and on to a point where it got to 3 months. And, eventually we did get paid, but it just got a bit ridiculous, that one.
And sometimes it puts you off working for them people again, doesn't it?
Definitely. It was a bit of a funny job, to be fair. The brief kept changing as we were kind of going on, but I probably wouldn't work for that particular client again.
And I think that's what sometimes clients forget, is that us freelancers, despite being in different departments, talk about this kind of thing. And reputations hold quite steady, maybe that's the wrong word, but they reputations take a long time to lose. If you're known for, like, say if you owe somebody like $4,000, and you don't get paid for 3 months, people go, oh god, they've not paid me, and then someone else goes, oh god, they didn't pay me either, and then before you know it, they can't get freelancers because none of us want to go because we've all heard they don't pay.
Exactly. Or they have like really long payment things. Like it's meant to be 30 days, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it might be 60 or 90 if it's overseas or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all talk.
Yeah, that's it. But like, I don't know if you've found the community really friendly, but I definitely
Yes.
think that the freelance community up here is so friendly.
Yes. Yeah, we're all in it together, aren't we?
Yeah, massively. And I think like if you're going through something, there's so many people at the end of an email who you can be like, have you dealt with this before? Like, have you dealt with this client before? Have you dealt with this? Like, what's the vibe? Or even like friends, stylist friends of mine, we all chat about our day rate as well. So we all kind of
Yes.
at a very similar day rate.
Yeah.
Because then we're
Yeah.
not undercutting anybody else. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's the community vibe is so nice up north.
It really is. Like I was the same with the day rate. Like my friend who's been doing it a lot longer than I have, I asked her like, what is the going rate? And she's like, well, we all charge this, so you need to charge this.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to undercut each other and we don't want to devalue what we do.
Yeah.
So this is what it is. And if it goes up, I'll let you know. And then you change yours kind of thing. Because like you say, we're all in it together and we don't want to devalue what we do. And that's another thing as well. Like when clients say, oh, I know that's your day rate, but we can only afford this. I'm like, well, I can't do it for that.
Yeah.
Because that we all try and go with the same ballpark figure. And if you can't pay us that, then we're not going to do it. You're going to have to meet us at where we are because it's not fair. Like we can't afford to do it for that.
Yeah. And I think like I've had less people in the last 5 years be super cheeky, and I've got like a base rate that I work on, and like I'm fine with it. It's a fine base rate. It probably needs to go up next year. But it's, and then anybody else who's new who comes in is a little bit more because that then I even out kind of over time. But I think it's right because otherwise you do get like undervalue people and unintentionally as well. Like it can be you go in with like thinking like, oh great, this is a new client, like yeah, I'm happy for that day rate, and then if you don't text somebody who's maybe already had that conversation with them as well, you might be undercutting that person and then that person loses work or you know. And excuse me, I do think like we've all got to stick together.
Definitely.
And by having a decent day rate as well, you cut the wheat from the chaff. Is that the right saying? Yeah. And you end up working with really nice clients.
Yeah, you do. And I think with like experience as well, it can go up.
Yeah.
Your day rate, if you are really experienced, you can bump it up. But yeah, like you say, we are a friendly community and we have got to stick together.
Yeah.
It's us against them.
Yeah, it's so true though. Like, and it definitely, like here, I've definitely found, even if people are working with like a couple of the creative agencies, like say Boss or I can't remember the other one that has stylists on as well. Even those guys are super friendly and, like, can't do a job, you can pass it on and nobody's going to pinch your clients and stuff like that. So that's quite that's quite reassuring as well.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I've had people come to me because they can't do work, or I've gone to them because I'm fully booked, so I'll pass it on, and we are very much like that. And we're in it together. Yeah.
Do you find that kind of community feeling is better as a freelancer than what it was full time, or I guess it's different, isn't it, when you're full time?
I'm not sure. How do you feel about that? Maybe you can answer before me. I'm not sure.
Because I feel like the community as a freelancer, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Going from my last little stint as a full-timer, like this is pre-COVID, I felt that people reflected back in on the studio and back in on themselves. So it wasn't quite as friendly, but that might have just been that studio.
Maybe. You'll have to tell me what studio that was.
Yeah, I will do off air.
Yes.
But I think of it. And maybe as well, you know how we were circling back to saying how when people get a bit stale, it might be that when people are full-time and they've been there a long time, people get stale and they kind of then start picking apart because they're a bit bored.
Yeah, potentially. Well, yeah, I think that happens when you've been somewhere a long time.
Yeah. And I think freelancing, because you've got lots of different things going on, there's not really much time to be bored.
No, because you've got so much to do, so much variety, and you haven't got time to be bombarded with like the politics of a studio.
Yeah.
And kind of the ins and outs of what's going on. Like for someone who's been there for 10 years, knows absolutely everything about that business and could tell you everything. And then you come in and you're like, well, I'm only here for a week. I don't need to bother myself with that. I'm here to do my job and I can go home. And I've done it. I've done a good job. I can go home and that's that.
Yeah. That's quite freeing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I quite like that.
It's like Disney face and you're like, oh, I'm the new person and I've had a great time and now I can leave and I'll move on to something else with someone else, whether it's one person or a big team. I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I went into a big studio in Leeds actually recently.
Yeah.
They had like probably, this isn't even an exaggeration, probably 25 sets going. And
wow,
really big operation at the minute. And I walked in and I knew some people from there that I've known for like 5 years, but I haven't seen for a while.
Yeah.
And my little brain fog just went like, I remember their face, couldn't remember their name. And then everyone was like, oh, Shah, how are you doing? And like, they recognized me because I've got the tattoos. So they're like, oh, it's you, da, da, da. And then I was like faced with all these people that I couldn't remember their names. Like, I need sticky badges for everybody.
Yeah.
And, like, I felt like the new kid at school who's just changed schools. And like, everyone was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh God, I don't even know who are these people? And
I know you from Instagram, and I'm like, don't know who you are.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. That's a funny one as well. Or like, people will go, "Oh, you're the chatty tattooed one, aren't you? You're the chatty Charlotte." I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah, that's me.
And then I'm like, "What's your name again?" Like, only just told me 5 minutes before. Like,
yeah. You've known me for 5 years. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Like, one of the photographers I saw, and I need to apologise to him next time I see him, but he was like, "Hey, Shah, how you doing? Not seen you for ages, blah, blah, blah." Literally can't have seen him for like 4 years. And I was like, "Hey, how's it going? Like, are you freelance now?" Like, chatting away. And he started chatting about a previous place we both worked at. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, gassing away to him." Then I walked away and thought, fuck, I don't know his name. I forgot his name.
Who was that?
Yeah. And just like, and I had to ask the photographer discreetly, like, who's that guy over there with these glasses on? And he was like, oh, that's so-and-so. I was like, oh, of course it is. Like, the name was just buried.
Yeah. Now it makes sense.
Yeah. You feel like the new kid at school every time.
Yeah. I will ask you this though, like, every time you go into a new studio, do you just feel anxious and nervous and having to meet new people like all the time?
To a point, yes, but I have a little saying, and I put my confident cape on and my positive pants, and I just go in and I'm like chatty, and I'm quite like I'm just chatty, and I'll just like be to people like, oh, how'd you get in the job? Like, where are you driving from? And somehow I get conversation out of people. It's probably because I just don't shut up until they answer. But sometimes, like, I had a little break from doing interiors for a couple of months. Like, I just didn't get booked on an interiors job. And I went in on an interiors job and I texted my mum and I was like, oh, I'm not sure I can do this anymore. Just like, of course you can. You did it for you've done it for years. Of course you can do it. So I still have those little anxieties, but I think you get confident in your skills that it kind of squashes the nervousness sometimes.
Yeah. Like that, it outweighs everything else, doesn't it? Because you know you can do it, and that's what pushes you through the
Yeah.
kind of self-doubt and that imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, imposter syndrome's a right bitch. And
It really is.
oh, yeah. And then you see other people doing stuff and you're like on their social medias, because, you know, it's not all real on social media, but you see people like be doing fantastic things and you're like, oh my God, this is so great for you. And then you sit down and you're like, oh, but I've not done anything cool. And then like, you know, you have to remind yourself, like, I've bloody propped a cookbook and, you know,
Yeah.
you've done some really cool stuff. And you're like, oh no, I can do it. I have done some cool stuff. And maybe other people feel the same about what I've done.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to kind of write all those down, like those small wins and those big wins, because I think we move so fast at what we're doing, we forget what we've done.
Yeah.
And like you say, you've propped for a cookbook. That is absolutely amazing. And I think that those things need to be like written down so you can go, yeah, well, she might have done this, but that's amazing. And I love what she's done, but I've done this and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, that's it. They're just the little, I saw somebody on my Instagram had like, it was a nail tech in Stockport actually, and her work's incredible. And she's just won a little award, like a Stockport award for a new new creative or something.
Yeah.
And I've probably got that wrong. And she just posted a little like picture of like 6 things she's done in the last 6 months, 6 achievements. And I was like, that's really cool. Like some of them were quite small, like you know, maybe organizing her social media or whatever it was. And I was like, that's such a good idea to reflect back on the last 6 months and just be like, oh yeah, actually I've achieved quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And it might only be like, oh, I've updated my website or something, but these things are massive for us when we don't have time to update the website. Like that's really good. Or organizing your hard drive or whatever, like or bigger things like big campaigns or whatever it is. Like it is really important to reflect on what we're doing, because that can, when you reflect, it can help you move things forward as well, like what went right, what went wrong, and can help us in the future as well.
Yeah, massively. I've got a gratitude diary actually that I use every day.
Oh wow.
So I've got like it's just on my phone, and it clicked up saying that I've done 700 days of gratitude.
Wow.
And, like that's really helpful, you know, when you just think like you know, when like things can become so overwhelming just day to day, and also running your own business can be overwhelming in itself. Yeah. So I'll just always make sure I put like 4 or 5 things on there, even if it's like Nath cooked me tea, or I saw the sunset, or I had a really good day at work, or stuff like that. And that's really nice. But I don't tend to do it for like work stuff, which maybe I should just start whacking stuff in that I've done for work in there.
I think you should.
Yeah.
Every 6 or 12 months, just write some things down that you're proud of that you've done.
Yeah, because I think you can all of a sudden, like you say, you're zooming past in life, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, like I've actually done loads.
Yeah, just in life and business as well.
Yeah. And like, you know, you forget about all these little things, like we were saying earlier about how people booked me through my Instagram and stuff, and these are like big brands, and like, you've done that. I've done that by myself, and you've probably got some wins like that too, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like everything really that I've done has been like me, and you forget that. Excuse me. But yeah, people have contacted me, like recommended through someone, and I'm like, wow, that person that recommended me, I haven't even worked with them yet. Like that's massive. And yeah, like we were saying before, like these big brands that everyone's heard of, I get to work with these people. That's massive. That's amazing in such a small amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's kind of when, like, I don't know if your parents do the same, when my dad will be like, oh, I've seen that so-and-so used a couple of brands like to use my tattooed arms sometimes.
Nice.
And he's like, I've seen on that social media that you're tattooed arms in. Oh my God. And he did not like the tattoos. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, and look how cool it is. And you realize that other people are seeing it from a different point of view, because it's just your day job, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's amazing when your parents get involved and they're like, you know that picture that you did or that you retook? I saw that in such a place. I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they can actually see what you do, because like a lot of what we do is all online, and it's like probably seen by so many people for like a day, and then we're on to the next thing. So being able to see your work somewhere, you know, in a shop or store or whatever, through your parents, I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's, yeah, it just makes you feel proud of what you've done, doesn't it? Because it's out in the world, and it's maybe on a lorry, or like it's, you know, on a packaging, or, you know, it's on, we all do a lot of work for social media now, and, you know, and it's nice that they're seeing this stuff as well.
Yeah, and see what we actually do.
Yeah, even if my dad has no real understanding of what I do. But there's times I just want to like bring him on set and just be like, this is what I do, Dad.
This is what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm quite lucky that I can sort of take my work with me. So sometimes I'll work from my parents' house, and they actually get to see what I'm doing, and they're like, wow, how are you doing that? I'm like, there's no time to explain, but but just look, it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Just watch the magic unfold.
Yeah. And then they just see the cursor like move really fast around the screen, and they're like, they have no idea what's happening, but they're proud.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. No, but it's so nice when they're like that. I suppose it's only like my dad, as we were driving as kids, he'd be like, done that roof. We'd be like, we're so bored, Dad. Put the music on.
Yeah, we've been driving around for hours.
Yeah, why have you taken us all the way around Cambridgeshire? We're so bored. Bless him.
Oh, but now you can look back and go, oh, Dad, that was really nice.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I understand the pride he had in his work as well. You know, it's a nice thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I've got one more question for you, and it's quite a biggie, but
okay.
What inspires you? And that can be creatively, through life, however you wish to answer.
That is a big question. I think, like, for me, it's not just like one person, or like, because I think people in different industries, they have like one role model or an idol that they've always looked up to. But for me, it's like every little bit of media. So like music or film, cinematography, or photography, dance, just like anything that I think, oh wow, that is really beautiful, and I might take an element of that and use it in my work. I think it's just all those creative mediums has always been quite inspiring to me. Like, I love graphic design, I love music, photography, these types of things I'm really inspired by. And like I can watch a film, and then there might be just one tiny frame of it, and I'm like, I'm going to create a picture from that someday. I think that's inspiring to me, is just different creative mediums, I think, rather than a photographer or a retoucher.
Yeah, it's almost like the appreciation for the creativity that's been put into that medium, isn't
that's it? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I am inspired by my peers as well. Like, I've got a lot of retoucher friends and stuff, and just this got so much admiration for what they do, because they're all in sort of kind of different industries to me. Mm-hmm. They're in, like, one retoucher friend who I've known for a long time, she's more she does a lot of work for the big players like Vogue and, you know, these
nice.
Gucci, and like these sort of portraits of celebrities and stuff. And I'm like, that is amazing what you do. I'm so in awe of what you do. Like, she can like retouch a picture of a celebrity in however many minutes, which will probably take me a bit longer. Yeah. But then she, my work, and be like, I don't know what you've done there. How have you done that? So I'm definitely in awe of what people do in my industry as well. And like, for me, like, one of my dreams is to do, like, because I still have dreams. Like, I love what I do, obviously, but I still I do have other aspirations, and I would love to work on like movie posters and stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, that is like, wow, how have you done that? How have you created that? And I think having those goals and those aspirations, I think that's quite inspiring as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I think having dreams still of like it, you saying like wanting to work on movie posters or like having these aspirations that are just out of reach at the moment, but they're attainable.
Yeah.
It's just finding your path to get there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I really like that answer. I think that's a really nice answer, that you're inspired by everybody, all the creative stuff around you. Because that, as a creative, you do visually look for, we're more often than not visual people, and you do often look to lots of different things to inspire you.
Yeah, sometimes I don't think it's one person, or some people do have like a role model, don't they, that they look up to and they want their career, and they will do everything to get what they've done. But yeah, for me, it's always been all the creative elements. But yeah, like I love movies, but in like cinematography and lighting and the way light falls and shadows fall and stuff.
Yeah.
And so like I might watch a film and take an element of it, or like the color grading of it. I might think, I love how that's graded. I'm going to use that at some point on some stuff of mine. And so, yeah, I like to sort of, I think there was a book, I think, called Steal Like an Artist, or I can't remember the exact name of it, but I think it's not copying what people do. I think it's just stealing a little element and using it, which can be quite inspiring.
Yeah, and that's how I think most creatives are inspired so much by lots of little different things that you do. You pinch a little bit here, pinch a little bit there, and then all of a sudden you've got your own little mixing pot.
Yeah, definitely. How would you answer the question?
Oh, I'm heavily inspired by nature. I just painted part of our wall a shade of orange that when I looked out at the sun setting was exactly the same colour. So I'm heavily inspired by nature. I'm similarly to you, I enjoy seeing other creatives create, and I think that I really enjoy seeing their processes and finding their thought processes and seeing their outcomes. But I like lots of different mediums, and pretty much I would say it's nature and then other creatives, and it would probably change on a weekly basis as to if I've consumed something different, or I've consumed a book that I really enjoyed reading, or I've spent time with people that are outside of my inner circle, maybe, that are a bit more inspiring, or well, not that my inner circle is not inspiring, but different people that make a different cog go off in your head, and you think, oh, actually I can do that, or I can do that. And I think there's a lot of inspiration to be had, like you said, at our peer level as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be an idol or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of collabing with people and like bouncing all those things, like all those ideas with one another, and I think that can spark inspiration and spark something off.
Yeah, so much. And like, even if it's something that you think, oh well, we'll try all this idea, and even if it turns out a bit naff, you've still had a good chat and bounced other creative ideas off, and it's quite that's quite nice.
It doesn't have to be like a finished thing, does it? It can just literally be a chat about something.
I went on a life drawing evening like a month ago, and that was really nice my other half did not believe me, but I was quiet for an hour and a half because I was drawing. And he was like, no you weren't. I was like, yes I was. And that's quite inspiring, because I got chatting to other people at the end, not whilst I was drawing, and they were all like, oh, and I do this as a job, and this is just quite relaxing for me, and I'm just able to be myself and find your own style or whatever in the life drawing. And that was quite nice as well, just going and meeting random people and, you know,
Yeah, from
drawing.
all walks of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it comes from lots of different places, actually, inspiration, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And like you said before, like if you're consuming a similar sort of thing, that can give you ideas and a pathway for, so like I've got one of my photographer buddies. He loves horror, so all his stuff is just horror related, whether he's doing like book covers or photo shoots. He's just he started to produce like a horror clothing brand. So I think he's just an amazing photographer, and what he does in Photoshop is amazing, but just consuming something that's the same caliber can create things for you as well.
Yeah.
Like say the pathway that you think, oh, I've been consuming a lot of that, and now that's like my color grading's got into like a this sort of thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I think when you're consuming a lot of the same sort of stuff can give you some great ideas and concepts.
Yeah, and often within that same genre, there's lots of different ways to get to a similar picture, or, you know, and like maybe he's got lots of different things to get there. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I'm enjoying asking people that question because I think it's such a layered question.
Yeah,
that people have lots of different ways of answering it, and I'm just finding it quite interesting how, you know, what inspires other creatives.
Yeah. Have you had any, like, what has been your favourite answer from someone?
One that I can remember, probably Kim Joy's answer, and I can't fully remember what she said now, but it was something along the lines of, I just inspire myself to be a better version of myself, and I'm trying to find things to just better myself. And I thought that was quite nice. Like, she's still evolving, and, you know, using what her knowledge that she's already got, and then adding in new bits and like finding other inspirations around her. And it's quite nice. I
like that.
I may have got that completely wrong, so
but it's kind of like being a better version of you than you were yesterday, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I like that. And like you say, constantly evolving and developing yourself.
Yeah, I think it's been different for a lot of people. You know, it's because it's different for everyone. Not everybody sees things the same way, which is really interesting. I think that's what I like about interviewing people. You know, everybody's got a different story to tell, and I enjoy being a bit nosy.
That's what makes you a great host, and answering these, you know, asking these questions. It's great learning about all the different types of creatives that because obviously you've done like graphic designers and photographers and stylists, and it's really interesting, like you say, where we've all come from and how we've got to where we are.
Yeah, it's nice.
Currently, yeah.
Well, on that lovely note, we shall end it there. Thank you so much for chatting to me. That's nearly 2 hours of gassing. It's been a joy. It's been
Thank
lovely.
you very much.
Well,
it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow, and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!